everyone. Welcome to this exciting week's Chatting with the Lightkeeper. I'm Edward, the Lightkeeper, if you didn't already know that. But as this podcast drops, and I'm sure every one of you listening to this is listening the day it drops because you have all clicked the follow button wherever you're listening to podcasts through, haven't you? That way you always know whenever I put out a new podcast, it'll just ding and it'll remind you. So if you haven't, please click that follow button so you do know whenever I put out a new podcast, which, by the way, is every Tuesday morning, bright and early. And if you are on New York City time, um, then it is going to be bright and early. But depending on where you live, it may come later than that or even earlier. So, anyway, please don't forget to click the follow button wherever you're listening. And the point I was trying to get to before I got sidetracked with the follow button is when this podcast drops, it will be officially 1 week to Halloween. So, are you ready for Halloween? I actually am. I just my pumpkin out today actually, and it is a fake pumpkin, but it looks real. Because it's really light, I got creative and I poured some cement mix in the bottom, which I know sounds crazy, then poured in some water because the only way, since it's fake, I can access it is through the smiley face there, and then stirred it up as best I could, let it sit. So now it has cement in the bottom. So on a windy day, my fake pumpkin doesn't blow away. And then I cut out a nice sized hole in its backside, kind of gave my pumpkin a bum hole, if you will. And I bought a very, very inexpensive rechargeable floodlight type deal. So it recharges in the sunlight, which, provided this time of year, we actually get sunlight here, and then shines down on the white cement at the bottom. So it actually gives the pumpkin the appearance of being lit up. And yet I have to do nothing other than set it on the porch and then bring it in after Halloween. So it's kind of cool in that way. And I have also bought my candy for trick or treaters. So I am all set for that. It'll be interesting to see whether there's hordes of trick or treaters in my neighborhood or not. I live in one of those neighborhoods where, whether it's fortunately or unfortunately, I guess it depends on how you look at it. I look at it as a fortunate thing that people want to trick or treat this neighborhood. But literally, minivans full of families and kids descend on this neighborhood for trick or treating, which is actually a lot of fun. So I enjoy it. I will be handing out candy until hopefully it's all gone, because my plan every year when it's all gone is to put it in a bag, take it to work the next day, and share it with my coworkers. The problem is I like chocolate, and normally by the time the next day rolls around, I don't have a bag full of candy to take to my coworkers. I just have a bag full of wrappers. So yeah, that's the Halloween plans. I don't dress up and hand out candy. I just am, hoodie and jeans handing out candy kind of guy. So that is my Halloween plans. But Halloween also got me thinking a little bit about the lifestyle. As we've kind of become adults, well, I guess the journey is still in progress for me. But as we have grown into adulthood, we do adult Halloween parties from time to time where our friends get dressed up, we get dressed up. And I've always looked at my friends' Halloween costumes and tried, because I think there's a bit of a truth, in a way, if you will, that's getting let out by what our friends are dressing up as. Like, sometimes I think it's just for fun, but other times, if you know them well enough and you see what they're wearing, you can be like, oh, well, maybe you're letting a little bit of, that part of yourself out. So it got me thinking about kink and BDSM and DS, all the good stuff that we normally talk about on the podcast. And Halloween is kind of the perfect chance for people who are not open about the lifestyle to dress a little lifestyle-ish, if you will, because we have the cover of it's all just, it's a Halloween costume. If, I don't know, I could dress up as Christian Grey. or somebody could dress up as James Spader from The Secretary. However you wanted to do it, you could do something like that and have the cover of it's a Halloween costume, but yet secretly letting out your kink side. So that's kind of a nice adult bonus of Halloween, at least in my neck of the woods, or my not neck of the woods, but I guess the woods that's above my neck, my brain area. To think about Halloween is what our costumes as grown-ups share about us, or maybe share about us that if you didn't pay attention, you wouldn't notice. So, okay, enough about the Halloween extravaganza that's coming up. Although I will say this, if you want to send me some feedback, I would love to know what your favorite Halloween candy was as a child and what it is now. Is it the same or has it changed? For me, I didn't have a specific candy. It was just, um, I guess you could call me a size king as a child, um, rather than a size queen, size king, because it was all about the size. Like if I got a full size Hershey bar, that was my favorite. Or if I got a full-sized package of Reese's peanut butter cups, that was my favorite that year. The only time I really would ever despair on the full size thing was on Mounds or Almond Joy, which, if you don't know what those are, if you're in a part of the world where there's not Mounds or Almond Joys, they are a chocolate covered coconut, and one has almonds and the other doesn't. And I can't remember which one is which. I'm not a coconut fan. I do like coconut rum, but I don't like coconut as far as in a candy or just coconut. Outside of in the rum. In rum, it's great. In candies, no. I would be a very kind child. And would you like my mounds? Would you like the almond joy? Those were always very politely given away. So I would be just curious, what was your favorite candy as a kid? And yeah, what is it now, or is it still the same? So, all right. And I guess the topic, now that we're getting into the actual topic here of the podcast, kind of goes well. I didn't think about it earlier until now, but it goes well with the Halloween costume, if you will, at a time when we're kind of presenting our kink side to the world. We're not talking about coming out as kinky today. That's not the this is that's for a podcast in the future. But I was thinking recently about all the wonderful things we talk about in the lifestyle, and we talk about so many things: consent and communication and relationships, all these wonderful things, and they really are wonderful. But then it got me to thinking, these are all like lifestyle skills, if you will. We pick them up in the lifestyle, or we pick them up beforehand, but we really employ them in the lifestyle. But these same lifestyle skills translate over into our vanilla world. And the things that we learn about ourselves and the lifestyle actually can be really impactful in our daily lives. The more I thought about it, I started kind of jotting things down. And wow, before you knew it, I had this list, quite a extensive list. I am a list guy. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is a whole lot more than I bargained for. So, me being me, slowly whittled it down. Oh, that's kind of redundant. Cross that off. And I got it down to 30 things. And that would be a lot. That would be 30 minutes of talking about, well, maybe probably more than that because I am a bit wordy. So, yeah, we would be going long, and I might get redundant. I have a way of doing that. So, whittle that down further to 15. Then my brain, being my brain, suddenly has this, well, we have to prioritize, right? I've made a list. Now I have to prioritize. Okay, this is number one. So that would be the last thing we'd get to. And this is the least important. And then as I'm looking over this list, I've got it all worked out and from most important or least important to most important work through on the podcast. And then it dawns on me, these are just my opinions. And I realize it's my podcast, so I get to share my opinions here, which is kind of fantastic. But I thought, no, let's do it another way. So without further ado, a little drum roll on my table. We're going to do these in alphabetical order and talk about each one a little bit. But I've got my huge list. I got it down to 15 things. So going forward alphabetically, and if these are not in alphabetical order, I blame Microsoft Word because I didn't double check its sorting. It is supposed to have sorted my wonderful list into alphabetized, but it's Microsoft Word. It does weird things sometimes. It's a Microsoft product. It happens. So if somehow we jump from the first one, which is body positivity, to x-rays, don't worry, x-rays is not on there. But yeah, it's supposed to be alphabetized. So yeah, as I said, the first thing is body positivity, which is something that I know I've talked about on this podcast. I struggle with. I struggle to look in the mirror, not when I'm clothed. When I am dressed, I can look in the mirror and say, I look handsome today. I look good. I feel good. Which brings this thought to mind. There is a commercial that comes on every Saturday night just before the first game in Hockey Night in Canada, which pretty much, if I am not at a hockey game, I will be watching Hockey Night in Canada, which typically is my Toronto Maple Leafs. But it's from what would be the right word? A doctor who specializes in hair transplants. And his slogan is if you look good, you feel good. So I don't quite, I mean, you could go both ways. If you feel good, you look good. But anyhow, that's the little slogan. That's what it reminded me of. But body positivity is up there. And it's something that I am continuously working on. I don't think I'll ever get there as far as embracing myself. I mean, I will be completely honest here. There is a part of me who would love to be an exhibitionist, but then there's the other part of me that screams very loud, much louder than being an exhibitionist would be fun. That loud voice that drowns that out is, oh my God, nobody wants to see that. So body positivity is something that the lifestyle helps us with. And it's because really the whole community is so very accepting. It truly is. And on top of that, I know I've talked about the over sexualization of the lifestyle at various points in times, how there's so many erotic images out there. But the flip side of that is there's so many erotic images out there of so many people that are confident in their bodies and their body styles are all over the place. So we can look at the lifestyle and see all these different styles and types of bodies out there with people rocking them. And it really can help boost our body positivity because the community is so welcoming and so warm. And when we do connect with a partner, it has such a wonderful, deep connection. In a way, it helps us love our bodies a little bit more because I think all of us have at least one thing about our bodies that we don't like, or we look at a picture or a selfie we've taken and go, oh boy, something jumps out that we don't like that no one else in the world is going to notice, but we are super critical of. So the lifestyle actually does help our body positivity every day. It's one of those nice little bonuses. The more we dive into the lifestyle, I think the more confident we become in our bodies. And there are people like me that have a whole lot more work to do in that area, but it's wonderful thing about the lifestyle. It helps me. It truly does help me become more positive about my body. And maybe someday the exhibitionist voice will get to a point where it's at least equal volume with the nobody wants to see that voice. That's a long-term goal that I'm working to. And don't worry, I won't spam any of you with any pictures when the voices equalize, if they ever do. Won't ever do that. It'll be by people who want to see it only. So, anyways, moving on. Speaking of communications that you may or may not want in your email or however, social media, communication is another area that we talk about all the time in the lifestyle, right? Communicate, communicate, communicate. Upset with your partner, communicate. Happy with your partner, communicate. Want to try something new, communicate. Setting boundaries, communicate. Talking about likes and dislikes, communicate, communicate, communicate. We do so much intimate conversations in this lifestyle. I mean, think about the intimate topics we talk about with our partner or prospective partners. I mean, some are very intimate, some are very sexual. The things that we communicate freely, perhaps with some blushing, but we do communicate these very sensitive topics with people all the time about the lifestyle. And being able to have those intimate conversations with people in the lifestyle actually will improve and does improve our ability to communicate in basically our everyday relationships, communicating with a peer at work. I mean, if you are upset with them, you've you're involved in the lifestyle, you've probably had a conversation with a partner where you were upset with them, and what you've learned from that conversation can carry over into the communication with your coworker. Maybe not the whole, if you don't change your way, I'm going to pull you over my knee and spank you. That'll probably get you thrown into the HR person's office instantly. Don't recommend that. But communication and the intimate topics we talk about with our partners and prospective partners, and even friends and acquaintances in the lifestyle, carries over into our everyday vanilla lives and makes us better communicators, which is fabulous. And going right along with the communication skills, hey, how about that? Alphabetizing actually worked and it flows right together. Um, Communication skills help us with our conflict resolutions. The better we can communicate, the better we can resolve conflicts. And the better we can resolve conflicts, the happier our lives are. And there is research to show that people who are involved, explore, even if they don't hang out in the lifestyle, the fact that they explored and learned about themselves, that they are happier. And so it makes sense that the communication and the conflict resolution skills that we practice in the lifestyle that are a part of our daily life. Well, hopefully the conflicts aren't daily for you. But if they do happen in the lifestyle, they transfer over into our vanilla world and make us better at resolving conflicts which happen all around us. So that's another wonderful little thing that the lifestyle teaches us, helps us with. And going right along with all that communication is consent, right? Everything in the lifestyle happens with consent. May I pull you over my knee and spank you? All these wonderful consent conversations we have. Now, consent obviously is probably a little different in the vanilla world, but we still have to ask consent. I still, technically, I wouldn't say it's consent, but I may have to go to my boss and ask for permission to do something out of the normal. So, in other words, I'm going to them seeking consent to do something. And since the lifestyle has taught me about consent, gaining consent, I've practiced getting consent, well, practice, but it's been part of the lifestyle for me. It's a conversation I've had before. It makes having those conversations in the vanilla world easier. And since we've done it before, we're not as nervous, especially when we are asking someone, say, like my boss or anyone's supervisor, manager, teacher, whatever it is, for that consent or the okay to do something that would be new or different. It's fantastic. You wouldn't think that for all the talking about consent in the lifestyle that it may carry over into the vanilla world, but it certainly does. And another thing that the lifestyle we do is we connect emotionally with people, whether that's building intense friendships that are just kind of more intense than maybe are some of our vanilla friendships, or connecting with a dominant or a submissive, or your fantastic kink partner or partners. We build emotional connections with other people in this lifestyle. It happens. Even if you come to the lifestyle and you're just going to explore and you're going to keep your head down, stay in your lane, we bump into people, conversations happen, and we develop emotional connections. And because the lifestyle side of us, in many ways, is kind of a raw space, if you will, those emotions can run deep. And with that, having conversations and connecting emotionally makes it easier for us to connect with people in the vanilla world. Connecting to a coworker, as far as a peer connection, is easier. after we've learned how to connect emotionally with a dominant or a submissive or a switch, depending whatever role you're into. But having had those emotional lifestyle connections, it makes it easier and more rewarding in some ways for us to connect with people that surround us on a daily basis in our non kink spaces. The other wonderful thing about the lifestyle is it empowers us and it teaches us with that empowerment to really discover parts of us that were unexplored, uncharted. And I think that uncharted, that explorer um, mentality is something that stays with us. I know I've been around this lifestyle for a good long time, many, many moons or many rodeos, however you want to say it. But the journey of self discovery has been never ending for me. There's always new things I am learning about myself. And the more I learn about myself, the more comfortable I feel, the more, in a way, empowering it is for me as an individual. And the more empowered we feel as individuals, the more confident we are outside of the world of kink. So it does help us with our self-confidence and how we obviously communicate and interact with everyone around us. And going along with that self-discovery, let's face it, discovering BDSM and what society says we should think about it, it can be a challenge. It was my biggest challenge when I decided to re-enter the lifestyle after my post-college break. And it was because it was taboo, it was naughty. You shouldn't, you know, society says we shouldn't have these desires or we shouldn't feel this way. We were, in a way, you're breaking barriers really that society has set that no, 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 you should not like this. No, no, no. But being able to take those challenges on that society says we shouldn't take on that are non-conventional desires, it can help us question and kind of redefine our views on society and culture in a way. Um, I, for example, come from a small town that is majority white. I mean, there are more and more, thankfully, is slowly becoming more and more diverse, which is a wonderful thing. But the lifestyle's acceptance, the fact that even when I first explored the lifestyle in the 90s, when let's face it, it was very hard. There were people and performers and people that were out and they were gay, but it was not, and it can't be easy now. It can't. But it has to be easier than it was then. But when I first went down the rabbit hole of the lifestyle, I was shocked. It didn't matter. It didn't matter to, well, at least to the people that I became friends with and got to know. It didn't matter. So it really helped me and helped me open my eyes to a much more equal, a much more accepting world. And really, I think exploring the lifestyle helps us see the world for what it can be rather than what it is today, and how we, even in the lifestyle, can do more and we can do better. So, even exploring the taboo of BDSM can really help us see the world as for what it can be, which helps us in turn do what we can to make it a better place. Another area where the lifestyle helps on a daily basis, let's face it, we all have some sort of trauma in our past. I opened up unexpectedly during a podcast I did a while back called Unscripted. It's the second half. Still completely shocked that I opened up and talked about all of that. But we all have traumas, and the lifestyle actually can be a therapeutic tool. And I will say this, it's a therapeutic tool from healing from past traumas. It is not therapy. Can the lifestyle and therapy work hand in hand? Absolutely. But the lifestyle is not therapy, it's therapeutic. So what the lifestyle does, it really provides us with a safe environment where we can reframe our past experiences, and those past experiences that were traumatic and out of our control. The lifestyle can help us regain a sense of control with those things. And when we heal or start to heal from trauma, it all around helps our daily lives. Going back to the communication part, one of the communications that happens between everybody involved in the lifestyle, whether you're diving into a potential relationship or just potentially going to play with a partner, is to negotiate and define our boundaries and our limits and all of those things. Well, we are negotiating. We are setting boundaries, which we have to do on a daily basis in the real world. We have to have boundaries. We have to negotiate. Um, Going back to the boss example, perhaps it'll be negotiating a new salary for you when it's time for your annual review, or you're contemplating taking a new job. The negotiation skills that you practice when you negotiate with your partner about what you are comfortable doing that night and what you're uncomfortable doing with that night, those same skills will apply to that conversation, that negotiation about your salary. So the negotiation and boundary portions are very important. And boundaries, let's face it, we still have to set boundaries, even with vanilla people. There's always, I think we all have that one friend that we need to be very careful with our boundaries, because if we don't assert them, they will try to overstep them. So it's just another way that lifestyle helps us in our daily lives. Going back to the trauma side, um, BDSM also can be therapeutic in that it helps us overcome feeling perhaps shameful. Going back to the BDSM as a taboo, and I'm going to explore this taboo, and there can be kind of a shame or a guilt associated with doing that. And when we overcome that in the lifestyle, it can help us overcome another experience that we've had in our vanilla lives, where we feel shameful because of how we perhaps treated somebody or the way we interacted with somebody. It's a life lesson that we learned the hard way, and we kind of feel ashamed of the way things happened or the way we acted. But overcoming the shame, if you will, and the taboo of the lifestyle can actually help us overcome the the shame or the guilt we feel by the way we handled something in our past, one of those life lessons. We're never going to do that again, but the way we overcome the taboo in the lifestyle can be the same way that we overcome that shame. Another thing that the lifestyle gives us, and that is personal responsibility. Now, of course, we live in a world where nothing is anybody else, everything is somebody else's fault. Now, if you are a politician, nothing is your fault. It doesn't matter. It's always the other guy. Blame the other guy. Makes me think of South Park the movie and that song, Blame Canada. If I could sing, I would be singing right now, but I will spare you that pain. So no one's ears will be bleeding. I will not be singing Blame Canada. But the lifestyle really forces us to take responsibility for our actions, our choices. There's oftentimes no one to blame but ourselves. And it helps us foster accountability with ourselves, and holding ourselves accountable um, makes us better people, better employees, better bosses, better managers, better students, better husbands, better wives, better whatevers. Being responsible for your own actions is a lesson that gets enhanced in the lifestyle, which of course carries over and into our vanilla worlds and makes us more responsible people. And hey, while adulting sucks, it does help when we're a responsible adult when we have to be. Now, another area that is fabulous, and believe it or not, this is one of the reasons why I do the podcast, why I blog, and why I have a little social media presence and enjoy creating things. It's a stress relief. Um, it helps me get out stress, believe it or not. Sitting here talking into a microphone as the sun sets and the lights are off, so it's starting to get dark, and the light of my computer screen is warmly lighting the room. This is stress relief for me. The lifestyle is a stress relief. Even if you are not partnered and you are not engaging in play, the lifestyle, still talking about it, discussing and researching it, reading about it, listening to a podcast, all of these things can be reliefs from our stresses. And let's face it, when we get some stress relief, the body does its chemical thing, and it makes us feel better. So the lifestyle is a stress relief, and if you do have a partner that, let's say, you get some hands-on stress relief, it can really get those endorphins going. And during a playtime, whether it's impact play or bondage or some kinktastic sex, it's going to lessen your stresses, put you in a better frame of mind, and it's going to make you happier. So, however you get your kink on, or don't get your kink on with others, just the simple act of researching it, listening to podcasts, whatever it is that floats your boat, it's a stress reliever. And when our stress levels are lower, we're happier. Um, the other thing the lifestyle teaches us um, is trust and vulnerability. Now, trust, sometimes we learn trust lessons the hard way. We trust when we shouldn't trust, and maybe perhaps we take too long to trust when we should have trusted. But opening up and being vulnerable, that is something too that the lifestyle really forces us to do with a partner, prospective partner. Same with the trust category. And in our daily lives, being able to better understand how to build trust and how to, or who to, extend trust to, um, and being, well, I guess the nice way to say it is the lifestyle helps us see through people's malarkey better. So the better we can see through malarkey, the easier it is for us to trust others and be vulnerable with them, which helps us building friendships, our relationship with family. Family can be a complicated mess, or it can be simple. I hope that your family relations are simple. My immediate family relations are simple and awesome. The extended family relationships, will just say complicated. Yeah, we'll go complicated. But the lifestyle helps us trust and helps us be vulnerable, which helps us um, develop, maintain relationships with peers, friends, family, you name it. So that is another little wonderful thing the lifestyle does for all of us that carries over into our daily lives. Finally, we are able to understand diverse things perhaps a little bit better than our vanilla cousins. And when I say diverse things, if you look at everything that is underneath the whole BDSM umbrella, I am sure you can immediately identify things that you're going, you, ick, no. But since we are engaged in the lifestyle, we recognize that ooh, ick, and no, while it's a yuck for us, it is a yum for others. And we are able to accept their yum, even though it's a yuck for us. We're able to accept it, perhaps even understand it because we've researched it just to try and figure out what the heck why would they like that? Um, and then we discover why people like that. And even though we still don't like it, we can better accept it. And the more accepting we are of diverse perspectives, different lifestyles, the more accepting we are of others. And let's face it, we in this world could use a little bit more acceptance rather than judgment. We could stand to be more accepting. So the lifestyle really helps us. be accepting of others, especially those who practice life a whole lot different than we are. Not saying you have to like them, but we can accept them. How does that sound? But those are just a few of the things that the lifestyle can help us with on a daily basis. And I hope it opens your eyes to understand that there's so much more to the lifestyle than just what happens between partners or some of that kinktastic sex that, is amazing. That there's so much more to this, and it doesn't just impact our relationships with those that are in the lifestyle, but carries over and helps all of us in our daily lives, makes our daily lives better, stronger, makes us better people. And if you believe the latest research out there, it actually also makes us happier. So all of that is fantastic. So I hope you've enjoyed this podcast, and please click the follow button wherever you're listening. And if you are game, please don't forget to send me what was your favorite candy as a child and what your favorite candy is as an adult. And I look forward to talking with you again next week. And until then, have a great, I guess this would be Halloween Eve week. So I look forward to chatting with you on Halloween.